So in a case where we're in a situation, not to preempt anything negative, but if we're in a situation whereby we still have that restiveness in the Niger Delta region, and we have to fall back on taxes.
Yes.
You did say that the minister had a rethink, thinking that, okay, because we're just out of recession, we're still pretty much on a very thin line out of recession, just 0.5% out of it. How confident are you that taxes can support this budget if we have a situation like that?
Well, I want to believe that taxes can still do a lot in improving whatever that is going to be a shortfall. If you look at the budget itself, there is an increase in the expected non-oil revenue as compared to the oil revenue. I mean, the non-oil revenue, they're expecting about 2.4 trillion. Meanwhile, the non-oil revenue, they're expecting about 4.16 trillion naira. So, and these are supposed to be from company income tax, value-added tax, custom and excise. Even 87.8 has been made available as part of what the federal government is going to get from the V8s, Voluntary Asset and Income Declaration Scheme. So all this put together, and then if all the independent revenue that is expected from the government entities, if they actually, since the government has also promised to look at reviewing the Fiscal Responsibility Act, as well as ensuring that the economic management team ensure that all the agencies of government that are supposed to be remitting their surplus to the coffers of the government, if they actually carry that out, I want to look at a case like JAMB, for instance. JAMB wants to remit about 7.8 billion naira into the government coffers as surplus. Meanwhile, in the last decade, the total amount that JAMB has remitted is just about 51 million naira. And we have numerous agencies of government that are supposed to be doing this at the same time. So if all these people, if all these agencies actually remit what they are supposed to remit to the coffers of the government, my belief is that the non-oil revenue target will be achievable.
So blocking the holes, blocking the loopholes is one way to go in succeeding in this budget. We've been speaking to Mr. Folarium Ogunsowo. He's the LIRS, Lagos Inland Revenue Service Chairman. We're going to be back and still stick with him to go deeper into the complexity of financing the 2018 budget of consolidation. Stay with us. Welcome back to State of the Nation. We're looking at the 2018 budget of consolidation and the challenges of funding, looking particularly at the tax option. We're having in the studio Mr. Folarium Ogunsowo. He's the former chairman of the Lagos Inland Revenue Service. I want to thank you so much indeed for staying through. But let's look at this very issue of taxes at the state levels, because that in itself seems to be a major problem. People say we pay taxes, but we don't see anything to show for it. So they are not encouraged. As a matter of fact, it's a huge discouragement for them to even begin to pay taxes. And this particular budget of consolidation looks at taxes as one of the funding channels to make it work. But what is the responsibilities of governments at the state level to ensure that IGRs, for instance, are improved to support their own state budgets?
Talking about the state governments in terms of raising internally generated revenue to fund their budget, that's a way to go, because as you will discover, so many states cannot even pay salaries. They always depend on what comes from the federal government to pay salaries and to still carry out responsibilities to other things in terms of infrastructure and amenities for the populace. But when we talk about revenue, generating revenue, like I said, there is the revenue side and there is the expenditure side for every budget. And for states, apart from what they get from the federation account, their internally generated revenue should be the main source of revenue to them. I want to believe that there is no state that doesn't have its own potentials, depending on how they look at it. The number one thing that I think any state that is serious about generating revenue is to grant autonomy to their revenue agencies. That means they should let it be run as a business, just like it is being done in Lagos State. And what do I mean? When you grant autonomy to your to the revenue generating agencies, your Board of Internal Revenue, they will be able to employ the right caliber of people that will assist in generating revenue. That means the right set of people. It's not only enough to grant the autonomy, but you must also bring in the right personnel to assist you in doing so. And then the next thing to do also is to invest in IT, information technology, because there's a lot of data that is available to them, which they need to mine. And if they don't invest in IT, they can't do it manually. And then there's also a lot of information that is coming from different agencies, from the federal government, from different sources. So when they do this, then it will assist them in doing the thing right. And they also have to engage in advocacy, enlightenment, and the tax campaign.
Just like the VATES project.
Exactly.
How far has the VATES gone?
Yes. For the voluntary income and asset declaration scheme, it started in July, on July 1st, and it's going to end. The 9 months grace is going to end. What does, I mean, the whole process is about increasing the tax base, because Nigeria has just a 6% tax to GDP ratio. And ordinarily it should be within the region of, at least for starters, it should be in the region of 10%, and with the aim of topping it to about 15%. South Africa has, I mean, Ghana there has about 17%, South Africa has about 25% tax to GDP ratio. And advanced countries, they have up to 30%. We have one of the lowest in Nigeria, which is 6%.
What they use to fund their own budget?
I think that's one of the things that actually made the Minister for Finance to change her mind, that look, with 6%, I mean, we're talking about, in Nigeria, for instance, we have about a population of about 182 million people. And out of the 82 million people, about 80 million people are supposed to be the labor force. But it will surprise you to note that it's only about 14 million people throughout the whole 36 states of federation, including Abuja and the FIRS, that are actually on the database. And from these 14 million people, it's only about 943 people that are paying tax of about 10 million and above. So for instance, income of 10 million, I mean, for tax of 10 million, it gives you an income of about 50 million. You know, the weighted average is about 20% of the tax rate. So, and then out of this also, about 214 are the ones paying 20 million and above. Okay? So, for 20 million also, that means the income is about 100 million. And out of these 214, all the 214, except 2 for Ogun State, are from Lagos State. So that gives you an idea of what we're talking about. You know, that there is still a lot to be done. So the voluntary asset and income declaration scheme, it's timely, and it's a scheme that I believe many states need to also plug into in order to boost their revenue.